Back on the Young Turks. Look, I know my opinion on Stuxnet might be a little controversial. These are weapons of mass computer destruction. And as I told you, a warning about what they might lead to later. Okay, I get all that, right? But we also live in the real world. And in the real world, we got to do whatever we can to prevent Iran's nuclear program. Even if you don't believe that, you know the people in power believe that. Much better than violence, right? I already said that in the last segment. And the other reason that I like this is that it's a smart way of going about it instead of just using brute force as we did in Iraq, which was incredibly dumb and counterproductive. By the way, we also used every weapon we had at our disposal, including soft power. We convinced the government of Dubai to help us intercept shipments that were going to Iran that would have helped them protect our centrifuges. So this involved all the government in all the different ways working properly to help set back the Iranian nuclear program for what appears to be 5 years. Now, that's my sense of balanced foreign policy. You might disagree. Sean Hannity has a different sense of foreign policy. He thinks that Iraq and Kuwait owe us, and that perhaps we should just go ahead and take their oil. Now, that sounds extreme. Did he really say that? Well, let's find out. Clip 7.
Two things I said. I said, why isn't Iraq paying us back with oil and paying every American family and their soldiers that lost loved ones or have injured soldiers? And why didn't they pay for their own liberation? For the Kuwait oil minister, how short his memory is. We have every right to go in there and, frankly, take all their oil and make them pay for the liberation as these sheiks, et cetera, were living in hotels in London and New York, as Trump pointed out. And now they're gouging us and say, oh, of course they can withstand.
All right, so there's two levels of absurdity there. First of all, hundreds of thousands of people were killed in Iraq who were civilians. At the very, very least, 66,000 Iraqi civilians killed, and apparently they're supposed to be thanking us for that wonderful liberation of Iraq that we did. And the way that they would thank us, of course, is by handing over all of their oil. You want to poll the Iraqi people on how that would go over with them? And how about all the people we told, oh, no, we're going in there just to be benevolent because we care so much about democracy and we're trying, Saddam was gassing his own people. We were just trying to help them. Now Hannity changes the rules a little bit and goes, well, or we can take all their oil. But the second level of absurdity is Kuwait. Now, look, Kuwait should be grateful. We did liberate them. Saddam would have taken them over, right? And the sheiks, those particular sheiks in Kuwait, the population is a totally different matter. But at least the rulers of Kuwait should be grateful because they got to go back into power, which they wouldn't have had. But, so the way that Kuwait should thank us for their liberation is by giving us all their oil. Well, then, did we really liberate them? Or did we just liberate their oil? That's Republican foreign policy in a nutshell. By the way, I wonder how Hannity would have reacted if he was back in history and the French helped us with the American Revolution. And the French then later said, well, since we helped you, now we're going to liberate your country of all of its natural resources. We're just going to take them. Would Hannity have signed up for that? Perhaps not. All right, so now on to other absurd Republicans and conservatives. Well, let's stay on the Sean Hannity program. Sarah Palin is going to be talking to Sean Hannity about the Loeffner shooting. She's, of course, going to blame the Democrats. To what level is absurd? As usual, clip number 4.
I don't know if the Democrats have taken down theirs in these ensuing days, but again, knowing that had absolutely nothing to do with an apolitical or perhaps even left-leaning criminal who killed these innocents and injured so many, I didn't have a problem with it being taken down, if in fact it actually has been taken down.
Now, she's, of course, referring to the maps that she put up with the gun sites on Gabrielle Giffords and other districts of Democrats. And she's like, I'm not sure if it's been taken down. Really? You're not sure? Like, why did they add that extra layer of lie, which is so unbelievable? Of course you know it's been taken down. And she's saying the Democrats had maps too, which is true. They didn't have gun sites, but they had targets, like an archery target, right? So that part of it is fair enough. But my favorite part, of course, was the left-leaning shooter. How was he left-leaning in any way, shape, or form? Even though he was totally anti-government, it seems to be part of the sovereign citizen group, which is an extreme right-wing group. Even though he talked about the gold standard, etc., which is a right-wing thing. He had a book from Karl Marx. Good enough. Let's call him left-leaning. No shame. Clip number 5. They continue.
I will continue to speak out. They're not going to shut me up. They're not going to shut you up, or Rush, or Mark Levin, or Tea Party patriots, or those who, as I say, respectfully and patriotically petition their government for change. They can't make us sit down and shut up. And if they ever were to succeed in doing that, then our republic will be destroyed.
Of course, as usual, conflating two different issues. We're not saying that Sarah Palin should shut up. Like I said, we're going to come over and gag her, or the government should. No. Okay, that's not what we're saying. We're saying, hey, listen, next time you talk about getting your gun and reloading, be a little careful. We're asking you to act responsibly a little bit. No government intervention. There's no talk of First Amendment remedies, like you guys were talking about Second Amendment remedies. Can you just act a little bit more responsibly? And apparently her answer is, hell no! Not surprising. Now, if you think her answer is hell no, wait till you get a load of Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh is very angry at Senator Gillibrand, who you're going to hear in the beginning of the clip explain how she was talking about Gabrielle Giffords, of course, is the congresswoman who was shot, and then Rush's over-the-top reaction. Let's watch.
She's the most nonpartisan person I've ever met. She represents a very conservative district, a border district in Arizona. She loves her constituents. She's someone who always gravitates towards solutions and finding compromise, working with Republicans. She's the vision of hope for this country right now. She embodies everything that President Obama was trying to say, that we have to be better than we are, that we all have to conduct ourselves better than we do.
Why? Obama said none of that mattered. None of that had anything to do with what happens. What I don't like about this is the assumption that we are no good. The premise that we are no good. And everybody, yes, that's true. We really stink. And we have to really work a lot harder to become better people. We are going to have to really work harder to become better than we are. Who are they to castigate all the rest of us? If they want to categorize themselves as not good enough, fine and dandy. But who are they? Why do we have to sit around and listen to these people tell us we're not as good as we can be? What message are we supposed to hear here?
I can't believe he got that angry over somebody saying, hey, maybe as a country we should strive to work together to do better. Apparently that's something that sends Rush Limbaugh into a rage. What do you mean be better? What do you mean not good enough? We're good enough, somebody grab a gun. Okay, he didn't say the last part, but I'm just amazed that he was that angry about saying, hey kid, let's do better? No, apparently not, because we're number one! Number one! All right, now the other part of it is him using Obama. Did you see that? This is why I tell you, man. That's exactly what I told you about the speech when Obama gave it. And why all these Republicans and conservatives have been saying what a great speech it is when he went and spoke in Arizona. He just said that. Obama let us off the hook. He said Obama said that all this talk had nothing to do with it. So why bother bringing it up? He said all the things that we had said, ginning people up and the angry rhetoric and all that stuff, it didn't matter. Obama agrees with us. So why are you still talking? That is something you're going to hear so much of over the next 2 years. People like Rush Limbaugh and the right wing and the Fox News channels said, oh, Obama agrees with us, so you progressives better shut up. Obama loves right-wing talking points, whether it's getting rid of regulation or angry rhetoric not mattering, whatever it is, Obama will agree with us. You see why I'm scared of which direction Obama's going now? I said it in the top of the show. I'm starting to get worried about it. It's like Inception, it began to take hold in my mind that Obama might be a souped-up Lieberman. That's a heavy, heavy charge, man. But it's going in that direction. His Arizona speech, by the way, just to be fair, is the least of all of his capitulations or anything. His Arizona speech, given its context, was, I think, understandable, okay? But when combined with everything else, you're going to hear Rush say, Obama said we were right a million times going forward. All right. I'm calm. I'm fine. Yeah, we worked really hard to get a Republican president. That was awesome. All right, now, and I know I'm the bad guy. I'm so extreme. I'm one of those crazy progressives who thinks maybe we should do a little bit of gun control, a little bit. And we're going to talk about that next. Of course, Obama, right after the shooting, said, no gun control, no gun control. I'm a guy who thinks maybe we shouldn't let the banks gamble with all our money. But I'm crazy. No, let's let them gamble with all our money, see how it turns out for us. Because it turned out great last time. So let's go back to gun control now, because new polls are out. This was actually commissioned by Mayors Against Illegal Guns, so obviously they're on one side of the issue here. Mayor Bloomberg is the head of this. They are in favor of more gun control, but the results are very honest and clear, right? So, for example, when American people were asked, do you believe that an individual has a right to own guns? 79% of Americans said yes. Now, that's a huge, huge number. Of course, 90% of gun owners said yes. When asked, do you oppose a law that would ban the sale of all handguns? Ban. 80% of Americans said they would oppose that. Of course, 90% of gun owners would oppose it as well. So the American people are clear on this. They don't want guns banned, right? And don't worry, you're in no fear of that. Because not only does Obama have no interest in that, Chuck Schumer has already waved the flag of surrender in the Senate, saying, believe me, that's not even, we're having a conversation we shouldn't have. It's not within the realm of possibility or imagination, right? But when you go to the other side of the coin and you ask the American people, should there be some regulation on guns? Or should they be allowed to do any kind of, gun purchase? Anybody can buy any kind of gun? They say, oh, no, they're equally clear. Let me read you just some of the results. 90% of Americans and 90% of gun owners support fixing gaps in government databases that are meant to prevent the mentally ill, drug abusers, and others from buying guns. So now that's, of course, a regulation that the NRA opposes, and we probably won't get, right? But 90% of even gun owners agree with that. Here's another one. 91% of Americans and 93% of gun owners support requiring federal agencies to share information about suspected dangerous persons or terrorists to prevent them from buying guns. Even more gun owners say, what, are you crazy? No, of course we should do a database that lets us know. Now, there's many other revelations of this, including people saying, hey, you know what, gun shows, again, overwhelming majority saying no, they should do database checks to make sure they're not selling to the mentally ill, to terrorists, etc. Everybody agrees, except our legislators, of course. Right now, you can buy all those weapons without any checks at a gun show. On the terrorist watch list one, that's a fascinating one. Actually, what happened was, since 2010, a government accountability office said that individuals on the terrorist watch list over the last 6 years have been able to purchase weapons 1,119 times. Okay? Does it get any clearer than 91% of Americans saying, no, don't allow that? But we do allow it. Why? The NRA has enormous power. I'm going to get back to that in a second. But more interesting numbers here from this poll. When asked about other regulations, for example, the issue of prohibiting people on the terrorist watch list, to follow up on this one, right? This is one of my favorite numbers, even 82% of NRA members said, well, of course we shouldn't allow people on the terrorist watch list to buy a gun. We just want, Americans that are law-abiding to have guns. Now, so they're not even representing their membership. Again, in 1 second, I'm going to get back to why they're doing that, right? Now, on to the other issues. 58% of the public and 49% of gun owners support banning the sale of high-capacity ammunition magazines. So this is a debate where NRA goes crazy, and they say, oh, hell no, under no circumstances. So in this case, for example, in Arizona, the magazine held 33 bullets. It allowed them to kill and injure so many more people. But in reality, 59% of Americans, and that's a solid majority, say that we should limit the number of bullets in those magazines, and the previous limit was just 10 bullets, okay? So a solid majority agrees with that. And then 67% of the public supports Representative King's proposal to ban people having guns within 1,000 feet of government officials, and even 60% of gun owners agree with that. So when it comes to reasonable regulation, the American people are overwhelmingly in favor of it. The NRA first says, oh, in the middle of this here, let me tell you their exact quote. The organization, quote, strongly believes that now is not the time for political debates or policy discussions. Indeed, anything other than prayers for the victims and their families at this time would be inappropriate. Okay, why? Because since the issue is relevant now, we are most likely to take action now. And the NRA doesn't want that. They don't want you to take any action. So they're saying, no, not now, not now. Very inappropriate. Inappropriate, right? Well, you know what the NRA succeeded in doing in 2006? They changed the law so that the head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives had to be confirmed by the Senate. Now, that seems like a minor change. So what happened? Well, since 2006, not a single individual has been confirmed to that post. So the people who are supposed to be checking for illegal guns and making sure that's under control have no leadership. The Republicans in the Senate wouldn't even confirm Bush's nominees, let alone Obama's nominees. They're never going to get confirmed. They're basically, it's a way of shutting down that check and balance to make sure criminals don't get guns. So you got to be wondering at this point, why does the NRA care so much about allowing criminals and the mentally ill and people on a terrorist watch list of getting guns and getting guns that can shoot many different bullets and not just 10 bullets? It's because and especially when their own membership doesn't even agree with them. Well, it's because they're not representing their members. They're representing the people on their board who are the gun manufacturers, not the gun users or the people who own the guns. And what do the gun manufacturers want? Well, for example, Midway USA is a company in Missouri who has given the NRA $5.7 million. One of the reasons they produce those magazines and the guns that are semi-automatic and fire much more than 10 bullets. And they make millions upon millions of dollars doing that. They make so much money from doing that that the $5.7 million comes from actually just a rounding error. It's not an error, they do it on purpose. What they tell their clients is, hey, if you bought something and let's say it's $72.89, if you round up to the next dollar, $73, we'll send that 11 cents to the NRA. And just by rounding up to the next dollar, they've collected $5.7 million. Imagine how much money they make from the actual sale of the guns. So they don't want that stopped. They don't care if a terrorist buys it. They don't care if a criminal buys it. They don't care if somebody is going to go shoot up all these people. They make money. And you know what? Not only do they make money from people buying it, but they make money from the panic. After the shooting, as I told you on a previous show, all gun sales across the country went skyrocketing up, particularly in Arizona, because people were worried, oh my God, after the shooting, they might ban certain kinds of guns, so they bought more of them. And they bought bullets even more so, right? And the gun manufacturers love it. In fact, the people who sell the high-capacity magazines in total have given the NRA over the last couple of years $7.5 million to make sure that they sell as many guns as possible, even if the NRA membership doesn't agree. And that's how our politics works. And unfortunately, there are consequences to that, and we saw one of the consequences in Arizona. By the way, one good piece of news there is that Senator Richard Lugar has come out, he's from Indiana, and said, should we ban the automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons, I should say? Should we go back to that so you can only have 10 rounds in your magazine? He said, I believe it should be, that the ban should be reinstituted. By the way, you know who else was in favor of that ban? George W. Bush. The Republicans in Congress were more radical, more right-wing than Bush, and they said, no, semi-automatic weapons are allowed. Look, I'll say one last thing on this, and I just realized I'm massively over time, but one last thing on it is, if we had that ban in place, Loeffner could have only shot 10 bullets before he got tackled. Instead, he shot 33 bullets. There's no way you can argue it. More people died because that law was not reinstated. Because the Republicans and the NRA and the gun manufacturers made sure that law was not reinstated. And as a direct and proximate cause, more people lost their lives and got injured in Arizona. And in Virginia Tech shootings, same exact thing, let alone all the shootings all across the country. You can argue otherwise, but you'd be wrong. Young Turks. All right, the country of Belarus called in during the break and said,
"We're looking for you. We gonna find you. I'm letting you know now."
Actually, that's not what I meant, but that wasn't bad either. I meant they told Anna.
I have never seen you, and you've never seen me.
Okay. All right, Anna. I'm going to start playing bus nuts, okay? I'm going to thank members instead. Here we go. Member number 1703. Terry Carlson joined up on January 29th of 2010. Terry, you rock. Look at this. Back page. Member number 3197. Tovi Yu. That's a fascinating name, Tovi. December 22nd of 2010. Members make this show run. We love you guys. Did another interview today talking up our members and the TYT Army. You'll get that on YouTube soon. So, fun for everybody. In the postgame, we got another wrap. This one's about Jesus. It's going to be fantastic. And then in the next hour, we've got a summary of my crazy guys trip that I take and the playoffs. Playoffs! What happened last week, what's going to happen next week. My bold and excellent predictions continue to roll. Okay? So, now, let's move forward.
All right, Japanese researchers plan to resurrect the woolly mammoth, okay? And they plan on doing so by using cells from a carcass that's been preserved in Russia. All right, and under the plan, the nuclei of mammoth cells will be inserted into an elephant's egg cell from which the nuclei have been removed to create an embryo containing mammoth genes.
Man, every time I see those pictures of the woolly mammoths, put the first one up again, Jesus, I think, man, those things look badass. Imagine those motherfuckers rolling around, man. Those things come at you. You say, all right, dude, you got it, man. I'm gonna step off, dude. This is all you. So now this is a really cool story. We've talked about similar stories before, and I was on the record as saying they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it, okay?
They want to do it within the next 5 years.
They're not playing.
That's what their goal is. And they said that they have successfully cloned a mouse by using a carcass that was frozen for 16 years.
Right.
So they're able to somehow use these damaged cells and still make it work.
Right, even though the animal is dead. Now, for dinosaurs, they have trouble because it's fossils. They don't have tissue cells that they can use.
Right.
But since they're frozen, like these ones were in Russia, woolly mammoth, they have usable tissue cells. So they take those tissue cells, they put them inside inside of the elephants. In fact, the woolly mammoth DNA says this before going into the elephant.
I jump in it.
That was too much of a stretch, right?
That was amazing.
Okay, anyway. So, and then we're going to see in about 5 years if a woolly mammoth comes out. And if it does, it's going to be awesome. We'll have brought back an extinct species. And I believe we can do it. I'm nearly positive we can do it.
It is an interesting case, and there's this huge debate over why the mammoth was extinct in the first place. Some people said that it was because of climate change. They couldn't handle the fact that the Earth was getting warmer. They became extinct toward the end of the Ice Age.
The last thing the woolly mammoth said was, "Damn it, Al Gore was right." Okay, now they had global warming before humans started adding to it, and there's been different cycles.
Right.
In that cycle, they might have wiped out the woolly mammoth, or the other explanation is us.
Right.
When the greatest predator on this planet came to be, the humans, we wiped their asses out.
Right, and I think that debate is really interesting and really important, because if they did, in fact, become extinct because of changes in the weather, what makes scientists think that if they somehow resurrect the mammoth, that they would be able to survive in a habitat now?
Well, we'll throw their ass in Siberia. They'd be all right.
And another thing, I just want to add one more point. I like this idea that we can resurrect extinct animals, but what if they became extinct because of a natural process?
Well, I mean, they did, of course.
Right, and then humans killing them, would you consider that a natural process?
Well, I mean, but look, we're killing all of them eventually.
Right.
I mean, look, all these different, the cheetahs, the panthers, et cetera, they're all running out of space because we're killing them, right? Sometimes literally, sometimes because they just don't have enough room because we've taken over everything. So that's also natural in some sense. Look, we do so many things that are quote-unquote unnatural.
Right, I know that.
It's going to be all right. Look, I got a great idea, though. You bring all these back. You bring the dinosaurs back. We should do a movie about that. And maybe you put them in a park so they can't escape.
Oh, that's such an original idea.
Think about it. Okay? I'm on to something here. All right. You put Jeff Goldblum in the movie. All right. So what's next?
All right.
Can I pause for a second? What happened to Jeff Goldblum? He does The Fly, he does Jurassic Park, and then did one of the dinosaurs eat him? Because he hasn't been seen since. Okay, just a random point. Yes, go ahead.
Astrologer Park Kunkel caused quite a bit of controversy recently because he added or brought attention to the 13th sign in the Zodiac.
Oh, I love this story. I love this story.
Now, let me just tell you this. This is not some new phenomenon. It's actually something that's existed for quite some time, but this particular astrologer brought attention to it, right? So other astrologers are like, oh, why is everyone making such a big deal about this? It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, my ass, okay? You know why? All those professional astrologers just went out of business. They've been selling this load of crap about, but if you were born on April 24th, that means you're this and this and this because you're the fish or you're the bull or whatever the hell you are, right? Okay, but if you were born on July 18th, that's totally different. That means you're a Sagittarius / Aries or whatever the hell you are. Can you tell I don't pay attention to the signs? Okay, now there's 13 signs.
Right.
And everything's topsy-turvy. It turns out I'm not Aries. Now I'm Pisces. Who wants to be Pisces?
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between Western astrology and Eastern astrology. Now, let me clarify one thing in terms of my opinions and my thoughts on this. I've never believed in astrology and signs and, what sign you are determines what type of personality you have. It's all BS, okay,
right.
In my opinion, right? But in terms of astrology, there are two different types, and there's Western and there's Eastern. In Western astrology, it's what you're used to, the 12 signs, Pisces, Cancer, Gemini, all of that. But when it comes to Eastern astrology, there's 13 signs, and the 13th sign in the Zodiac, I might be pronouncing this wrong, but it's Ophiuchus? Ophiuchus?
Who knows, man? It looks like octopus to me. Okay, so now it turns out if you fall on the wrong dates, you might be the octopus dude, right? So what happened? All those people are like, oh, of course, you're that way because you're a Pisces or you're a Scorpion or whatever the hell you are. And now it turns out you're octopus. What now? What happened? No, it proves something we all knew anyway. These signs are a load of crap. What, so everybody born on April 13th is the same exact person? That doesn't make any sense. And then the real Eastern version of this, of course, is the Chinese years, the dog year, dragon year, etc. That makes even less sense. Everybody born in 1970 has the same exact personality?
Yeah, but you know what? No. The Chinese version says that I'm a tiger, and I think that makes total sense. Does
a tiger say row? Sounds like a really small tiger. All right. By the way, don't get me wrong. I'm just as goofy as the next guy. Like, I was proud that I was at the beginning of Aries, the vernal equinox, right? And now it turns out I'm a little floppy around fish, and I don't like what that's. I'm not buying that. And in the Chinese calendar, I'm a dog, right? And I'm like, dog's all right as long as Vic's not around.
It's not a tiger,
right? So all this is baloney, and these people telling us, "Oh, we knew that all along. You didn't know that there was 13 signs." Then where were you at when everybody went and got their signs, and it's been in the newspapers for decades and decades? Why didn't your astrologer speak up then? Nonsense, a scam.
There was something, it was sent to me because, as you knew, everybody freaked out about it. And it was like, oh, there's no way my sign changed. A lot of people were doing that. And there was something someone sent. They said there was another astrologer or astronomer. There's a difference, apparently. Like I said, I don't follow either, just like you do. But it said something like the difference with the Western and Eastern thing. They're saying it's always been there, and they're saying it's known, but their focus isn't on Western ones don't work on stars or constellations. Their focus is on the solar system. So then when they switch and say, oh, but it's the stars and the constellations, and so there's a 13th sign, they're like, no, that's different. And he said that they're here just to freak you out again. And this particular guy, Klunkle, whatever his name is, they said he's just a, so now he's attacking him.
Yeah.
So now there's a battle. They're about to meet in the street.
Right. So they're mad at Urkel for coming up with the octopus sign. Right. Come on, people. Come on. Don't believe this stuff. How many times have you met a girl and I'm not being the bad guy, okay? But it happens. She says, "What's your sign?" Mm-hmm. And you say, whatever, right? Sagittarius. They're like, "Oh, of course. You're such a Sagittarius." Unless, of course, now you're a Scorpio. Right?
In other words, nothing's changed. What happened? I don't know. That's the way I think they're saying. They're saying, "Oh, this one guy said it. Doesn't mean everything's changed."
Right.
So you're still a crazy Sagittarius with those weird quirks with women.
Okay, all right, good. I'm back to being an Aries. Yeah. Hold on. By the way, just please, I know it's not octopus. Just please, okay? All right, what's next?
All right, Men's Health magazine did this survey of 1,400 women, and they did the survey to show the differences between women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Apparently, men need a little help with that because they can't figure it out for themselves. But anyway, let me move on. Little dig. Okay, all right. I'm totally kidding. Now, of course, there are going to be huge differences between women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s because they're at different points in their lives. They have different sexual experience. They have different needs and wants. So I want to tell you what they are.
Now, I read the article, but I didn't read the part about the 20s and the 40s. I kind of wanted it to be a surprise. Supplies. Plus, I would like to guess, okay?
Okay.
The women in their 40s and their 20s give it up quicker than the women in their 30s. Okay? Because in their 30s, if they're still single, they're in a mild panic. Why? Massive overgeneralization. But like, I gotta get the ovum's gotta jump in it, okay, or the sperm has to jump in the ovum. I gotta go. I can't be messing around with these frat kids. I can't be messing around with these guys who I got no interest. In their 40s, they're like, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And in their 20s, they might be also having fun in the other direction. That's my guess.
Okay, you guessed wrong. And I'll explain why. This is my theory behind it. So let me first give you the numbers. Women in their 20s, 17% are up for sex on the first date, if there is chemistry. Okay? When it comes to women in their 30s...
I love that, that qualifier. No, they're just up for sex on the first date no matter what. Like, guy comes, he's a clown of the earth, and he's like, I got to do the sex on the first date. What can I do? Of course. 17% is kind of low, though, yeah.
17%, yes.
Yeah.
When it comes to women in their 30s, 28% are likely or willing to have sex on the first date. And then women in their 40s, 1% higher, 29%.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so all right. My bad, woman in their 30s. My bad. God bless your heart.
So there isn't much of a difference between, according to this survey, there isn't much of a difference between women in their 30s and 40s. Now I want to explain why women in their 20s, and I'm a woman in my 20s, so I'll explain why. Women in their 20s are less likely to do it. I think women in their 20s are more concerned with a guy's perception of them, and a lot of times women in their 20s are a little unsure of what they want. So they're more hesitant when it comes to having sex. So, for instance, if I were single and I were going on a first date, there's no way in hell I would have sex on the first date because I don't want the guy to be like, skanky skank. Right? It's very... it is likely for him to think that, but there are also guys out there who are grown and they know sex on the first date means nothing at all. We liked each other, we had chemistry, we had sex. Who cares?
Right, yeah. I'm in that camp.
Women in their 30s and 40s, I feel like, are much more comfortable with their bodies, much more comfortable with their sexuality. They've dated, they've experienced, so they're like, I had sex on the first date. What? What are you going to do?
Right. If they like the guy, they
jump in it.
You can tell I'm a little obsessed with that clip today. But I like it. All right, yes.
All right, so let me give you a couple more statistics. When it comes to women in their 20s, 1 in 5 have had intercourse with only one partner. Okay? When it comes to women in their 30s, I'm sorry, this is actually more interesting. Women in their 30s find sense of humor the most important thing when it comes to finding a long-term partner. Okay, when it comes to women in their 20s and 40s, kindness is the most important characteristic.
That's interesting. Look, I think in their 20s, I'm not sure I'm even buying it, but maybe they say it's kindness. I think I'm buying the 40s one because by their 40s, they're like, you know what? I had the ass. I had the cocky guy. I had this. I had that. And it turns out a guy being a good guy is what matters in the end. I totally believe that. in their 30s, they're looking to have fun. We're way over-extrapolating.
We are
We've made a lot of theories. This is bordering on astrology.
But it's fun. Look, this is why I love these kind of studies, okay? Even if we don't know the exact science behind it, even if we don't know the methodology, it's interesting to speculate and theorize and really think about reasons why there are differences between these women, right? And I want to give you guys one more really interesting statistic. So when it comes to orgasms, all right? When it comes to orgasms, for women in their 20s, 38% had 2 or more orgasms during their most recent sexual encounter. Okay,
Damn.
38%, which I think is a pretty high number. However, that number increases with age. 48% of women in their 30s had 1 or more orgasms during a recent sexual encounter. Now, here's the twist. Okay? Women in their 40s, 86% had 1 or more orgasms during their most recent sexual encounter. And you know why? Because women in their 40s know what they want. They're not shy about it. Like, no, I want you to diddle there. I want you to do this. And it works, right?
Well, see, now that's very, very interesting, right? And I think you're exactly right. In their 20s, they're like, I don't know, he gave it his best shot. I was kind of shy about telling a woman in her 40s, she's taking charge. She's like, I'm going to need you to go over here, and I'm going to need you to visit this part over here, and then, but that's great. They're finally empower their sexuality. But you know what? That's why we should, we should tell girls to take charge of their sexuality right from the get-go. I mean, don't worry about what the guy wants. I mean, that's important, you know, in being a...
Here's what the guy wants, okay? The guy wants to get off, but he also wants to get you off. Okay, it's a huge ego thing for the guy. So
if you help him to do that, everybody's a winner, right?
Agreed.
You see, we try to help on this show, man. It's a teaching show. It's an educational show, okay? You ask her, and if you're a woman, ask the man to help you out, and then if it works, then you all...
I jump in it.
You see what I'm saying? All right, come right back. We got the trip stories for you next. They could go in any direction, so come right back.
I was at the point of no return, deep in the darkness of passions and